Hi friends, welcome to Beautifully Bookish Bethany. In today's video, I'm going to be recommending a whole bunch of yellow books for you to put on your TBR and trying to recruit you to my Team Yellow. I'm one of the co-leaders for Team Yellow in the Amazing Readathon created by Brianna at 4 Paws in a Book, taking place all through the month of August. The Amazing Readathon is Brianna's brainchild, and it is a really fun readathon based on the Amazing Race, including secret video prompts for challenges and different countries you travel to throughout the month of August. She asked me to be a co-host, and I am one of the hosts for Team Yellow. I would invite you to come join Team Yellow and help us win. It's gonna be so much fun. So the cool thing is you get bonus points every time you read a book with a cover that is the same color as your team color. So of course, as a co-leader of Team Yellow, I thought it would be helpful to give you a video full of some recommendations of books with yellow covers that you could read for this challenge. There is another co-host who has made a video with a lot of romance recommendations. I have some other ones. We don't have a lot of overlap. I'll link her video down below if you want to go and check it out. I think there's like 1 or 2 books that we both have, but mostly I have new yellow covered books. And I hope you'll join me. I'll put Brianna's video announcing the readathon down below. It's got information for how to join us on Discord. Team Yellow for the win. Anyway, I've got a whole bunch of books, I think like 20 something, and I have split them up into categories. If you know me, you're not going to be shocked that my biggest pile of recommendations for you is sci-fi fantasy, but I also have some romance, I've got some contemporary / thrillers, I even have 1 nonfiction, so you're welcome. Let's go ahead and dive in. I will say before I start that I picked books with a variety of shades of yellow. So we have everything from a very pale yellow through a mustard yellow and in between, but I think these should all count for that challenge. Beginning with romance. The Care and Feeding of Waspish Widows by Olivia Waite is a historical sapphic romance with older female characters. I love Olivia Waite. I really loved this. It is a slow burn, friends to lovers. It's very yellow. Next is A Duke, the Lady, and a Baby by Vanessa Riley. This is another historical romance with a Black heroine, and this one is drawing on a lot of the real history of Black people during the time period. This is going to be a good one for people who like fade to black or low steam, especially people on the ace spectrum or people who just aren't comfortable having on-page sex in their books. This one does have a fade to black approach, so suggestion. If you want a short option, The Governess Affair by Courtney Milan is a fantastic novella that I really loved. Content warning for the trauma of past sexual assault. However, I think that this book has one of the best and most sexiest consent scenes that I've read. Loved it. Then we have Aisha at Last by Uzma Jalaluddin. This is a really great contemporary take on Pride and Prejudice featuring a Muslim main character. It's got social commentary, it's kind of a rom-com, and the main character is a practicing Muslim. So if you like Pride and Prejudice, you want a little bit of a different spin on it, I would recommend this. Then if you want something that's a little out there, but also really surprisingly sweet, we've got a Ruby Dixon for you. The Half-Orc's Maiden Bride. This was great. It's got an arranged marriage between a woman and a half-orc with some very interesting spicy wedding customs, but he is just the biggest cinnamon roll and very concerned that she's comfortable and consents to everything that's going on. I loved this way more than I was expecting to. And of course, my final romance suggestion is Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. Talia Hibbert is always amazing, and the Brown Sister series is great. This one has a yellow cover. This one also has great fat representation. We've got a plus-size main character and a plus-size hero. I love this. It has fake dating and a prickly heroine and a cinnamon roll hero. It was lovely. If you haven't tried Talia Hibbert yet, I highly recommend. Moving on, why don't we do my sort of contemporary / thriller stack? First up, we have The It Girl by Ruth Ware. I really like Ruth Ware. This is one of her longer books, but I kind of loved it. This one has 2 timelines, and it's dealing with a very old death, a friend who had died, possibly been murdered, years and years ago, and secrets are coming up amongst a group of college friends now that they're much further into their lives. I've got a couple that are a pale yellow, but I think they're still yellow enough to work. All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. If you want a book that will make you cry, that is incredible and well deserves the accolades it's gotten, this is a fantastic book. It follows two teenagers who are the children of Pakistani immigrants who are dealing with a lot of really intense things in their lives as children of immigrants, but other stuff too. There's a lot of trauma in this book, but I also think there's some really incredible character work, beautiful arcs towards healing, friendship. It was great. My other pale yellow suggestion is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. People have very mixed feelings about this, but if you like dark academia and like bad people, this is a great one. It's a classic for a reason. There are so many people who hate this book, but also I think some of us really love it. You're not supposed to like the characters. You're not going to root for the characters. They're all awful people, but I do think this is really interesting. Last in this category is The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School by Sonora Reyes. This is an incredible queer YA coming-of-age story following a Latina lesbian who is in the closet and doesn't feel like it's safe to come out to her family because she lives in the South. They're very religious, and it's kind of her discovering herself, maybe falling in love. It's beautiful. Rough at times, but does have a happy ending. I loved it. I've got a couple of suggestions for nonfiction, one that I own a copy of and haven't read yet myself, and then one that I have read but don't own a copy of physically. Dreams from My Father by Barack Obama. This is his first memoir that he wrote. I've never read it, but I have a copy on my shelves, and it's kind of the sepia-toned yellow, so I think that this could work. The other one is I'm Glad My Mom Died, which was heart-wrenching and difficult to get through. Lots of content warnings for child abuse and eating disorders in particular, but I also loved it. I think it's a very, very good celebrity memoir, even if you're not familiar with who she is. I wasn't very familiar with who she was, but it was so good. My next category is horror, and I have 3 of those. Only one that I've actually finished, one that I've started but then haven't gotten back to, and maybe I'll try to finish it for the readathon, and then one that I have not yet read. First up is The Guild of Stories by Jewel Gomez. I don't know if you would totally call this horror, but I think it kind of falls into that category a little bit. It's a queer classic with lesbian vampires that also deals with issues of race and enslavement. So a little intense, which is why I think I put it down and then I haven't picked it back up again, but it was good. Like, what I read was good. It was just a little slow to get through. So this might be one that I try to finish for this readathon. Again, it's kind of like a brownish sepia-toned yellow. The one I have read is Small Favors by Erin A. Craig. I really loved this. If you like weird small towns and religious cults, this is a good one for you. It is YA horror that never gets too scary, so I feel like if you're a little bit of a wimp for horror and you want something to kind of dip your toes into, I think this is a great option. It's set in what feels like a historical setting in this secretive small town. There are paranormal elements to the story, I guess you could say, and it has culty vibes. Really liked it. My last horror suggestion is another one that's probably going to go on my own TBR. I haven't actually read it yet, but this is Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones. I always love reading from Stephen Graham Jones. He's an indigenous horror author who does really interesting work. This is what I haven't read from him, and I think this is his take on a werewolf story. Should be interesting. Lastly, I have a whole big stack for you of science fiction and fantasy. Mostly fantasy. I've got one sci-fi and one kind of dystopian / fantasy, so I'm just sticking it all together because it's mostly fantasy. Okay, first is yet another one I have not yet read that maybe should go on my own TBR for the readathon, but The Missing of Claire de Lune by Christelle Dabos. This is the second book in the Mirror Visitor series. This is a series that was translated from French, and it was a big best-selling YA fantasy series over there. I read the first book. It was very weird, but I loved it, and I've been meaning to continue, so this might be a good time. The second book is yellow. Then, of course, there is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. I love this series so much, and the first book is mostly yellow. So this is sapphic political fantasy that is inspired by the history and mythology of South Asia. Tasha Suri likes to call this her series about morally gray lesbians trying to take down an empire, which I think is an apt description. It's great. Then we have The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. If you want to really challenge yourself and get in a big chunky book, this one could be a good option. This feels like two books kind of mashed into one. It is quite a tome, but I've read it twice and I really like it a lot, even if it's not perfect. It's another one with some queer elements to it. There are dragons, although I think not as much of the dragons as some people might want. It's more of a slow-paced political fantasy. I did really like this, though. It was interesting. Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is kind of her futuristic dystopian book. There are 2 books in this series. I don't know if there are going to be any more. That might kind of be the end of it. But it follows an Indigenous woman in this dystopian future. There are magic elements to it. It's an interesting one. My one true sci-fi is The Mimicking of Known Successes by Malka Older. It's got orange, but it has a lot of yellow as well, so I think this works. This is a novella, so it's a pretty short one to get through, which I always love for readathons. And this is a blend of science fiction and mystery. It's very Holmesian, but sapphic. So we have 2 women who are kind of like a Holmes and Watson trying to solve a murder mystery on a colonized version of Jupiter. It's great. I really loved it, and it's the first book in a series. There's going to be more to come. Then for one that is literally half yellow and half blue, so I guess you could use this for either team, but we're going with yellow. Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This is a really beautifully written, kind of lyrical YA fantasy novel. It's almost dreamlike, and it just has so much love of books. I love this duology a lot. It's fantastic. Then we have The Cloud Roads by Martha Wells. This is the first book in a series from her that I read recently, and I really loved it. It's very interesting. If you are looking for something with a queer norm and polyamorous norm society, this has it. It's got fascinating world building in terms of different species and people groups and all of their cultures and the way they function together, and character work that's really good. If you've been following along with me and Leanna but get a little bit behind, you could read The Tower of Swallows by Andrzej Sapkowski. This is one of the books in the Witcher series. I'm actually reading this one in July, but if you want to wait, you could read it in August and then wait and watch our podcast episode then, if you're following us. Oh my god, the stack is like enormous. And then my final suggestion has like a golden yellow cover to it. This is Sister Song by Lucy Holland. Really incredible book. I loved it. One of my favorite things that I've read this year. It is historical fantasy set in ancient Great Britain following 3 siblings. It's got magic elements to it. One of the siblings is trans, and his journey is just really beautiful, even though parts of this are heartrending. I love this. I think it's fantastic. If you liked books like Circe, I think this would be a great pick for you. So there you go, 24 books with yellow covers that you can read. Pick whatever genre or type of book you're interested in. I hope you will come and join us on Team Yellow for the Amazing Readathon. Links are down below, and hope you enjoy. Lots of great books. And, you know, who knows, maybe in the future if somebody's looking for books with yellow covers, this will also be useful. Talk to me in the comments down below. Let me know any of your thoughts or feelings on anything I talked about in this video. And for question of the day, I would love to hear if you are planning on joining the readathon, and if so, which team color are you joining? Is it yellow? It better be yellow. It's fine. Anyway, talk to me in the comments down below. If you guys like this video, it always helps if you give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.